my passions is making floral jewelry. I love just expressing my creativity, whether I'm making permanent jewelry or whether I'm making floral jewelry, which is just a temporary. One of the things I wanted to show you today was making a lily grass necklace. And we start very simply by just using lily grass. I'm going to take lily grass and I'm going to roll it starting at the very tip. And we're just going to roll this into loops. So if I just kind of wrap it around my finger a little bit, like so, I create this loop. Now, once you get down to the very tip of the lily grass, sometimes that gets a little stiff, so you have that ability that you can just cut that off if it's too much. And then we're going to take that roll that we create, and I've taken some of the bead wire. This is Smithers Oasis bead wire. Comes on a roll like this, and you cut it into a strand. If you look at it really closely, there's a bead and then the wire and another bead. So you give yourself some length on that cut and cut it right at the beads all the way down so that you get this kind of, just this little hairpin that you want to use. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a piercing technique. So you're going to take the wire and you're just going to pierce through this and pull it through so that that bead ends up on the top. And then you're going to take your wire and you're going to wrap it all the way around this just a couple times so that you still have a little bit of length to this, because we're going to use this length to attach additional pieces together. So what we need for our base structure is, this is just a wireframe necklace choker type thing. You can get this at any jewelry making supply store or online, whichever you want to do. We're just going to use that as our base structure. And I'm going to take some of the looped lily grass we have, and I have a whole bunch of it already made up. So get that all done ahead of time so then you can start assembling your loops. So all I do is just take that loop, and I usually put 7 right around that very base. So I'm just going to wrap it around that base structure for the necklace and then wrap it into the pearl on the bead. And you want to get rid of that end. That's really, really important, because if you have any points sticking out, it's going to either snag clothes, it's going to poke somebody. We don't want that. So you just continue wrapping this around and fold it into that bead so that it dissipates, and you continue building that. As you can see, what we have is I just have 2 on there, but we're going to make 7 across that row. And if you look at one that I've got started, you can see that we started with our 7, and then I did another row below that so that we just kind of bind it together. Now what you want to do is that you bind them to the choker, and then you bind the next row to the row above it. And then I also took another one of the pearl pins and bound those together just to give you stability so that you can build upon that. And if you look, we just keep adding to this, making it the length that you want. I usually do it about 2 down, and then I want to create dimension. So then I'll take another row, or another one, I'm going to use the green pearls on this, take another loop, and just start adding that on top. Now you can just bind that right into another pearl. You can wrap around wherever you want to tie it. Be consistent on where you want to tie it so that it's the same all the way through. But you just start building and building all the way through. And once you have another layer on top of that with several of these, what you can do then is you can add different materials to this. So if I add another layer, let me just throw another one right on here just real quick so you can see. Let me just bind him in. There we go. If you've got an end that doesn't want to cooperate, it keeps coming out, just cut it off. So then once I have that, I also like to use textural materials because this is pretty repetitious. It's very symmetrical. We have the same repetition going on over and over and over again. So let's add some texture to this. So this material, you can see it against the black, this is Norfolk Island Pine. This is basically, it's an owl-shaped needle on the Norfolk Island Pine. These originate in the South Pacific Islands, etc. But this is just a really soft, pliable foliage that you can use. And if you just take a bead get a hold of one here. We're going to use let's use a white one here just real quick. So you attach a bead to it at the very end. So that gives us our stability. Just wrap it around that pearl. So I got a little bit of a strand. And then I'm going to attach it to one area at the top. And just work it into the wire framings that you already have. And wrap that around. And then I'm just going to work that down through to create dimension and texture. And then if you can see on our large one, what I've done is that I've woven that down through, and then I've also woven it in several different places, and it all converges right down to my very point where I bound that together again with a little bit of the bead wire. But you can see we get dimension with this. It's just not a flat piece. There's a lot of texture that's added to the sleek surface of the lily grass, and then the pearls that create that accent that's added to it, and then that textural influence that we see with the Norfolk Island Pine. I love being able to create this. This is a labor of love. I have to admit that, because it does take a while to create all of these. What's really fun though is just that the creations that you can come up with by using just some simple foliages can really give you a great time. So we're looking at rolling that lily grass, we're piercing the bead through that, and we're creating just a stunning necklace.